The starship Elysium hung suspended in the void, its silver hull reflecting the pale light of the nearby binary suns. I had been stationed on this remote outpost for weeks, tasked with cataloging new planets and observing alien life forms, when she appeared. Not as an enemy or an ally, but as a force of chaos I never expected. Her name was Lysara, a warrior from the planet Zifra, known across the quadrant for her unmatched skill in combat. The rumors spoke of her duels, how she challenged the most daring captains to contests of strength and intellect, and how very few ever survived unscathed. I had laughed at the stories at first, dismissing them as exaggerated tales designed to scare newcomers. But then, there she was, stepping onto my shuttle pad with the kind of confidence that made time slow. Her armor was sleek, almost liquid in appearance, reflecting faint neon patterns that pulsed with her heartbeat. Or so I imagined. Her eyes, sharp and violet, locked onto mine, and suddenly, I felt like a prey animal caught in the gaze of a predator. "You," she said, her voice a melodic yet dangerous lilt. "I've heard your name in the councils. They say you've never faced defeat. I wonder, is it true?" I straightened, trying to appear braver than I felt. "Depends on who's asking." Lysara smiled, but it was not a kind smile. It was one that promised trouble. "I challenge you to a duel," she said. "Combat. No weapons but skill. If you win, I will grant you a favor. If I win, you will do as I ask." I swallowed. My brain screamed caution, but my pride, and something else, a strange pull I couldn't name, urged me to accept. "I accept," I said. The duel was set in the arena of Zifra, a massive structure hovering above a violet desert, suspended by magnetic fields. The air was thin, tinged with the metallic scent of the planet, and the arena itself seemed to shimmer as though alive. I was nervous, but determined. I had trained for countless scenarios, mastered strategy, and thought I was prepared for anything. Lysara stepped onto the platform, her posture fluid and relaxed. She didn't seem nervous at all. The crowd, an alien assembly of dozens of species, all silent in anticipation, watched us with unblinking eyes. I felt like the center of a cosmic stage. The duel began with a simple nod. We circled each other, our movements mirrored and precise. Her strikes were lightning fast, a blend of martial arts I had never encountered, with an elegance that belied their lethality. I countered as best I could, but it quickly became apparent that this was not a contest of mere physical skill. It was a test of intuition, timing, and courage. She struck me across the chest, and I stumbled back, barely catching myself. "Not bad," she said, her lips curling in a hint of amusement. "But predictable." I lunged again, aiming for her left flank, but she anticipated it, spinning gracefully and sending me sprawling to the ground. The crowd gasped, or I imagined they did. Pain shot through my ribs, but it was not just physical. Losing felt foreign, humbling, and strangely exhilarating. The duel continued, each of us testing the other. I managed small victories, deflecting a few strikes and landing a couple of solid blows, but it was clear she was superior. Finally, after what felt like hours though the sky outside said only minutes had passed, I fell. Hard. My body scraped against the metallic floor of the arena, my breath ragged. Lysara stood over me, victorious, her chest heaving slightly, though she seemed almost unaffected. "Do you yield?" she asked, crouching slightly, her eyes searching mine. There was no malice, only intensity. I hesitated, then nodded. "I yield." For a moment, silence stretched between us. The crowd held its breath, and then she smiled, slowly, and leaned in. Before I could react, Her lips pressed against mine. It was not a kiss of conquest, but something softer, warmer, a spark that ignited every nerve ending I didn't know I had. My body stiffened, but my mind surrendered. "Pulling back," she whispered. "Now you owe me." I laughed breathlessly, even as my chest ached. "And what exactly do you want?" "Something simple," she said, her eyes twinkling with mischief. "Your company. For a time. To learn about humans." I blinked. My ribs hurt, my pride stung, but there was something in her voice that made all previous caution seem absurd. Somehow, losing had brought me closer to the truth, that some victories are not about dominance but connection. Over the next weeks, I found myself traveling with Lasara. She taught me her fighting techniques, yes, but also the philosophy behind them, about trust, about reading intention, about finding harmony between chaos and order. I taught her about human strategy, humor, and the strange art of improvisation. Our duels continued, often sparring for hours, and each time I lost. Yet each loss became a lesson, and each lesson drew us closer. Lasara had a way of making defeat feel like a gift, her laughter echoing in the corridors of the Elysium as we trained in zero-gravity chambers or raced across alien landscapes. It wasn't just the physical lessons that captivated me. She had a mind that moved in patterns I couldn't predict, a curiosity that rivaled my own. Conversations with her became adventures in themselves, debates about the stars, ethics, and the strange poetry of survival across galaxies. One night, as our ship glided silently through the belt of a dying star system, we sparred in the main chamber. I barely dodged a strike, twisting in midair as she spun past me. She landed lightly, her hair floating in the zero-G light, and laughed. "You've improved," she said, her voice softer than usual. "I've learned from the best," I replied, panting. She stepped closer, close enough that I could see the pulse at her throat, the faint shimmer of her skin under the neon light. "And yet," she murmured, "you still lose every time." I smirked despite myself. "And yet here I am, still standing." Her lips met mine again, this time slower, intentional. The duel, the rivalry, the lessons, all melted into that moment. I realized then that the challenge she had given me was never about winning or losing in the traditional sense. It was about opening myself to something I had never known, trust, vulnerability, and a bond forged not by victory, but by mutual respect and fascination. Weeks turned into months. We explored uncharted planets, survived ambushes from mercenaries, and negotiated with alien empires who considered our pairing an anomaly. Lasara's reputation grew, and mine adapted, not as the undefeated captain, but as the human who had learned to fall and rise differently. One evening, we stood on the deck of the Elysium, gazing at a purple sun setting behind twin moons. "You know," I said, "I never thought losing could feel this good." She tilted her head, eyes glinting with amusement. "Losing, like life, is about perspective. And sometimes," she added, brushing her fingers against mine, "it leads to something better than victory." I laughed, a sound mingling with the hum of the ship's engines. "I suppose in your universe, even a duel can become a beginning." Her smile was all the answer I needed. The stars stretched endlessly before us, a vast, unknowable frontier. And yet, for the first time, the unknown didn't scare me. Because I was not alone. Lasara had challenged me, defeated me, and in doing so, opened a path to something far greater than any conquest: connection, trust, and a love that defied galaxies. We kissed again as the first stars of the new night blinked into existence, and I understood fully. In a universe filled with battles, wars, and endless quests for power, sometimes the greatest victory was learning how to surrender and how to rise together. And as the Elysium sailed into the infinite void, I knew that no duel, no defeat, no challenge could ever feel quite the same again. Because with her, even losing was the sweetest triumph. Months passed since our first duel, and our connection deepened beyond mere companionship. We became not just partners in combat, but in exploration, diplomacy, and discovery. The galaxies we traversed were vast and dangerous, yet none of it felt threatening with Lasara by my side. She had become both my anchor and my compass, guiding me, challenging me, and, most importantly, trusting me. One fateful mission brought us to the edge of the Sarath Nebula, where a rogue faction threatened to ignite a war between neighboring systems. Our objective was simple: negotiate peace or neutralize the threat. But simple in name only. When the faction's leader, a massive crystalline alien named Vaker, refused to parley, we were forced into combat. Lasara moved with precision, her every strike calculated yet fluid. I followed, relying on my instincts sharpened through our countless duels. Together, we were unstoppable, not because we were invincible, but because we had learned each other's rhythm. In the heart of the battle, I realized how much I had changed. Once, I had feared losing. Now, I understood that victory was meaningless without someone to share it with. After we subdued Vaker and brokered peace, we stood together on the bridge of the Elysium, looking out at the nebula ablaze with color. She reached for my hand, the same hand I had once placed on my side after defeat in her first duel. "Do you ever regret it?" I asked quietly, thinking of that first loss, the kiss that followed, and the path it had set us on. "Regret?" she echoed, tilting her head. "Not for a moment. Losing to you, winning with you, it's all part of the same journey." Her words hit me in a way nothing else ever had. I realized that life, like a duel, wasn't about the individual victories, but about the trust, the bonds, and the courage to embrace uncertainty. We spent the following weeks mapping uncharted systems together, exchanging stories and laughter, and sometimes just sitting in silence while the stars whirled around us. Each moment reaffirmed that our initial duel had been only the beginning. It had been the spark that ignited trust, the trial that forged partnership, and the catalyst for something neither of us expected: love. The final moment of our journey came unexpectedly. On a small, forgotten planet bathed in a pale green sun, we discovered the ruins of an ancient civilization. Amid the crumbling towers and silent halls, Lasara and I stood together, hands intertwined, marveling at what had once been. "I never thought a duel could lead us here," I admitted. "Not a duel," she corrected, smiling. "A challenge. Life's challenges often lead to the most beautiful outcomes." We looked at each other, knowing words were unnecessary. The kiss we shared that day was different from the first. It was deeper, unshakable, a promise not only of passion but of partnership, loyalty, and understanding. For the first time, I felt truly complete. As we returned to the Elysium, the twin suns setting behind us, I realized that the story of the duel, of the kiss, and of the lessons learned would live with me forever. It had taught me humility, courage, trust, and love, lessons far more valuable than any victory. In the endless expanse of the universe, we were no longer solitary travelers. We were a team, a pair, navigating both the stars and the intricacies of each other's hearts. And for the first time, I understood that sometimes losing a duel could mean winning everything that truly mattered. The Elysium lifted off, gliding into the cosmic horizon, carrying us toward new adventures, new challenges, and a future where the lines between victory and defeat no longer mattered, because together we could face anything. And as Lasara rested her head on my shoulder, I knew one thing with absolute certainty: no battle, no duel, and no force in the galaxy could ever separate us. The first kiss, the first defeat, and all the struggles had led us here, to a love forged in challenge, sealed in trust, and destined to endure among the stars.